Alrighty, and welcome back to the Mother-Daughter Disney podcast. My name's Amanda. I'm here with my lovely mother.
Hi, I'm Jeanette.
And today I'm super excited because I recently went on a trip to Disneyland in California. Normally we are Disney World people.
Right. She went without me.
Right? We have not been to Disney. Well, we've been to Disneyland once 9 years ago in 2017. Yeah. So that was our first and only time we've gone to Disneyland and Disney California Adventure Park, of course. And so, I wanted to go back for many years now. So I decided for my birthday, I was going to go back. So this was a birthday trip for me to go back. So we're going to split this into 2 episodes. We're going to focus first on Disney California Adventure Park, since chronologically we did that park first, and then we did Disneyland the second day. So all right, so for Disney California Adventure Park, so when we arrived in California, we actually spent some time with family first. So by the time we actually got to Disney California Adventure Park, we had to drive from about an hour outside of Anaheim to the general area of where Disneyland is, and we were staying at the Anaheim Discovery Inn and Suites. Now, way back when I booked this trip back in September, I would say, I just zoomed in on Google and I was looking to see where shall we stay, right? Like, where should we stay? What's the prices?
Right.
Now, of course, in comparison to Disney World, in order to get, for instance, if you want to walk to the parks in Disney World, you have to stay on Disney property, right? So it's like, if you want to walk into Epcot, you got to stay in one of the boardwalk resorts, into Magic Kingdom, one of the monorail resorts. And again, that was the infamous mistake that Walt Disney himself made with the California parks, was that he didn't have the land around the parks. He only had the parks itself. So that just means there's a lot of hotel options around the Disneyland park. So you can stay not on Disney property, but within very close walking distance, are a lot less expensive, by thousands of dollars less expensive, honestly. Now, I initially, because this was a big birthday for me, I was going to stay at the Disney California Hotel, and I was looking into pricing for it. I said, we're going to do it. I was like, I don't care how much it costs. But when I was looking into it, the pros for staying on a Disney resort in Disneyland just didn't really have a lot of good pros. The biggest pro was that you could have the early park entry, so you could get into the park a half hour early before regular people, so to speak, could get in. And they took that away as of January of 2026.
Oh, did they?
So they took it away, and instead now everyone who's staying in the Disneyland hotels, you get one Lightning Lane pass instead. And so when I saw that, I was just like, I feel like for me that's not worth it, because I'm going to purchase Lightning Lane anyway.
Right.
Now I realize that is a secondary Lightning Lane pass, so I would say in theory, so we'll get into how the Lightning Lane works in a second, but basically you get a second Lightning Lane for the day that you can book, when normally you can only book one Lightning Lane during the day for your multi-pass. So I can see how that maybe it is a pro to a certain extent, but for me, I was like, I don't think that's enough of a pro for me to spend the extra like $1,500 for us to spend
that you're only going to be in just to sleep.
Yeah, just for a few nights. Right. As I'm saying, that's a good point too. Right. We were going to spend park open to park closed. We were in these parks for these 2 days, right? So we were spending no time in the hotel, and for what we ended up paying for our hotel, it was perfect for what we needed to. Now, I'll say for this hotel, I would say it looks a lot fancier in the photos online. When you get there, it definitely is more motel vibes. But again, for what we paid for is great. I don't have the exact price of what we paid for, but it was a couple $100s for like 3 or 4 nights. So it was perfect what I was doing. I booked it far in advance, and I know I would say you should try to book it in advance, since my friend Tyler, he ended up going to Disneyland in October, and he asked me where I booked for my trip in April. And when I sent him the place, it was already booked out. Like he only booked his like a week in advance, so it was booked out within the week of advance. So I said, you do have to book it in advance, of course. Right. And I think I actually booked it on Expedia too, so I actually got even more discount through Expedia. Yeah. But anyway, so where this resort was, so again, I zoomed in on Google Maps, right? So sat on Google Maps, zoomed all the way in around the hotel, and then just typed in hotels and was looking at all the hotels, all the prices, and then I kept doing the Google Maps walking from the hotel to the entrance of the park to see how far it is. So we were staying really close to the Pixar Place Hotel, which is the Pixar Palace Hotel, which is one of their more value resorts, I say in quotes, or like the moderate resort, I would say in quotes. So we were less than a 3-minute walk from that resort, and then that resort is still a 10-minute walk to the entrance. Okay. So we were about 10 to 15 minutes away from the entrance of the parks where this resort was. So all to say, I did vlog this trip as well too. The vlog for this trip will be up on my other YouTube channel as well. So you will see me and my husband walking as we're going through from where we are. Now, as we're walking, by the time we got there and we started walking, it was about just before 7 a.m. I would say, because I made my husband get up real early. We left from outside. Yeah, we left from where we were staying at his cousin's house at 5:30 in the morning so we could get there. And initially, because of traffic, because traffic is very wild in California, it was like an hour to an hour and a half. Now we ended up making it in about an hour, so we got there a lot sooner than I was expecting to get there, honestly. Because I thought we'd get to the hotel by 7.
In California, you never know.
Tell. Yeah, the traffic in California is pretty wild, honestly. So we started walking. There's a lot of other people that were walking too, even though the parks opened at 8. By 7, everyone was on their way, bustling to the resorts. And so it was a little confusing at first where we were supposed to walk, but it was easy in the sense that there's so many people walking. You kind of just, again, like most things, you just follow the crowd, and it's pretty simple. So when you get to a certain point, when you get to where you see where Disney California Hotel was, we actually made a left, and you kind of go around to the the entrance of downtown Disney. Once you get to downtown Disney, you do the security, of course. You walk through security. They do not have the evolved technology that Disney World has where you just have to walk through. They still have to check your bag physically, and you still have to take everything out of your pockets and stuff like that. So then you're in downtown Disney. Downtown Disney it's smaller than Disney Springs, but it's honestly so nice the way they've really built it up and how it is.
I remember it, yes.
Yeah, it's definitely smaller, but it's super nice, I would say, overall. And it's funny, in the morning walk didn't feel that long to the entrance of the parks, right? Because you're walking, because you're excited. Yes. The music was very loud in this area, but you're excited. But when we were leaving the parks at night, oh my goodness gracious, that was a long walk to leave to get back to the hotel. It felt
because you're tired.
Yeah, it felt exhausting, honestly. Right. But anyway, though, so we walked through downtown Disney, which was very exciting as well, too. There's lots of shops. We ended up not doing anything in downtown Disney this entire trip, honestly, just because of timing. So we just walked past it, and then at night we walked past it again, that's for sure. So then when you get to, they call it the Esplanade, I think, or I forget exactly what they call it, but it's the area that's between Disneyland and Disney California Adventure Park.
They face each other.
Yeah, they face each other, so they're right across the street from each other, basically, and there's this big area, essentially. And so when you get there, Disneyland is to the left, and Disney California Adventure Park is to the right. And when we got there, it was about 7:13 in the morning, according to my timestamps here. Yeah, so about 7:13, 7:15 in the morning is when we arrived. I took some photos, obviously. Now, there's recently been some more discounts for California residents to go during the week. So this was a Wednesday when we went. So people have been saying that the weekdays have actually been quite busy because a lot of California residents can get good discounts to go during the weekdays rather than filling up all the weekends. And so because it's like been a little bit more crowded, and also they're still doing the 70th anniversary celebrations at Disneyland. Since their celebration was in July of 2025, we're still within the 1 year of that 70th celebration. So there's still lots of stuff going on for that. Also, food and wine was happening in Disney California Adventure Park too. So that was also happening too in the parks.
Yeah, perfect storm.
All that to say, long lines in Disneyland, a little bit shorter lines at Disney California Adventure Park. So we got online, of course. I would say the line didn't feel too long, honestly. I feel like I've seen worse in Disney World. But we got online, and then exactly at 7:19 in the morning, they started to let people tap in, basically, right? So the passes are a little bit different because they don't have like the tap that that we have, that you have your magic band and your pass, you hold up, everything. Instead, you have your barcode on your phone, and you kind of scan the barcode on your phone, and then the little machine takes a photo of you. So it's your first time scanning it, and it takes a photo of you. And I realized that was going to happen as I was watching the people in front of us going through. So I made my husband go first because I had both of our tickets on my phone, of course. I made my husband go first, scanned it, and he didn't know it was going to take a photo. So when it took the photo, the cast members was telling him not to stand still because he went to go through. So it took the photo, and he was just like, "Wait, I'm not ready." And I was just like, "It doesn't matter, just keep walking." So his photo does look kind of crazy, actually.
Yes, but she made sure she had a photo.
He was not prepared for it. But yeah, then we took my photo. I didn't look that great in my photo either because it's like, it just happens all so fast. But I would say Universal Orlando also does the photo thing. So I wonder if Disney World is eventually going to do the photo thing as well, too.
Oh God, just what I need, another photo with me out there
because
somewhere.
Then of course, then when you do your lightning lane, when you do other things, like your photo always then like pop. So now when you get into the park, this is when people kind of start to branch off. They have like a little mini main street right there. And then most people are branching off in two directions. Either they're going left towards where the Marvel area is, which is the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout Ride, which is their version of like Tower of Terror, but again, Guardians of the Galaxy themed. And then most people were going more towards the right, which is more towards like the broader part of the park, I would say. So people going to Radiator Springs Racing and Credicosta, Soarin', things like that were kind of going towards the right. In this moment, I was debating pretty hard, which ride should we rope drop, right? Because now we're here so early, what should we rope drop? In the moment, I was like, let's rope drop Radiator Springs Racers, because I think that makes more sense, because then we can always do a single rider later, or we can get the single pass, because that's the only single pass in Disney California Adventure Park. So I think this makes more sense, actually, and I think we should do this ride. It was funny because my husband did say he would rather do the Tower of Terror like ride, the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, but I was just like, no, I think this makes sense because we'll get that on multi-pass. Basically, I was wrong. We should not have done Radiator Springs Racers first. We should have done the Mission Breakout Ride, the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout Ride first. It's essentially what happened. Well, let me back up real quick. So the park is counting down, right? The park is about to open. They're making these announcements. When the park opens, right at 8 a.m., park opens, and then everyone just starts running, right? Now in Disney World, I feel like it's very discouraged that the cast members really stop people from running. And people
it used to be really that they used to run like that.
No, I'll say we haven't rope dropped to Disney World in a long time, I would say, overall. So I don't know
I'm sure
if
there are
people are still running. But let me tell you, in Disney California Adventure Park, and then also in Disneyland, people were running through this park. They were sprinting this park. It's like in the footage, it doesn't look like we're walking that fast because we're all walking the same speed. But we were like half running in my vlog footage because everyone was just going so quickly. Right. Now remember, we were one of the first people online to even get into Radiator Springs. There's this huge crowd of everyone trying to get to Radiator Springs. Basically, everyone was rope dropping Radiator Springs. Some people were branching off to like where Credicosta and Soarin' might have been, but the vast majority were going towards Radiator Springs. And again, cast members are trying to tell people not to run. They're trying to do crowd control, but it was wild, right? It's like you were going to lose family members instantly. So me and my husband were gripping to each other.
So amazing.
Now I'll say too, because it's been 9 years since I've been here, right? So I didn't actually know where the entrance was, but it was pretty easy. Everyone's going to the same ride,
place.
Right? Not to say there are other rides.
Swept along.
Yeah, it's like there are other rides in Radiator Springs, but everyone's going to Radiator Springs Racing. We get to Radiator Springs Racers, and we're standing in line. Of course, we still waited about 20 minutes in line, even though we rope dropped this ride. We were one of the first people on this ride, and we still waited about 20 minutes in line. That just shows, I think, how many people were in this line. Now, not to fast forward, but into our next episode, but tomorrow when we rope dropped the ride for Disneyland, instantly we walked onto that ride, right? So many people getting on Radiator Springs Racers. So now at this point, we get off the ride, and now it's around 8:30, I would say. And one of my very close friends, she lives in California, so she came with one of her friends too, and so they were with us for this entire day and for our entire Disneyland day as well. So when they arrived, I told them, it's like, we're doing Lightning Lane, right? So we synced all our tickets. I purchased them their Lightning Lane as well too. So this is my treat, so that way we can all do Lightning Lane together. It's all linked on my pass as well too, and then also on her friend's. His name is Jeremy, on Jeremy's pass as well too, so he could also help the Lightning Lane. So he's also a pretty common Disney goer as well too. So now we have the Lightning Lane. I'm looking, and now this is where you feel a little bit of panic when you are the sole person who picks the Lightning Lanes, right? And I felt this on my Bachelorette. I felt this in the past, even with just my parents. But it's like, what do you pick first? What do we do first? How do you want to plan the day? Because there's a lot of options, and you never know what the right option is.
With us, you never have to worry. We'll do anything.
Yeah, but you never know. It's like when you're planning the day, what is the best course of action? You don't know. So when I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, and all I saw was 8:35, and I was like, oh, let's do that because we can do that now real quick. And Jeremy says that he doesn't like going on Guardians of the Galaxy because it gets him a little nauseous. So let's do that now because we're over here. We get over there, we scan the passes, and the passes are a little bit different too because again, it's on your phone and you scan it the same way you scan your ticket. And the cast member is like, you're like 600 minutes early. And I was confused, and then I realized it said 8:35 p.m., not a.m. Now, just to say, I use the 24-hour clock on my phone, and this is a good example of why you never mess up on the 24-hour clock between a.m. and p.m., right? I've never done that before, even in Disney World. But just to say, this was, again, we rope dropped this park, and even by 8:30 in the morning, only technically 30 minutes after the park opened, Guardians of the Galaxy was already at the end of the day for their Lightning Lanes, right? So in that moment, I was just like, all right, I'm going to cancel this Lightning Lane because either we kept it and I had to wait 2 hours to book the next Lightning Lane, or I could cancel it and just start booking other Lightning Lanes. So that's what I ended up choosing to do. Now, for the spoiler alert here, we ended up never getting on the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. The line for that ride stayed over 2 hours the entire day. The Lightning Lane was gone by 9 a.m. And no matter how many times I refreshed the page, the Lightning Lanes never came back, and the line just stayed over. Even by the time we were leaving, the line was still over an hour and a half, right? When we left at like 10 at night. So that's when I realized, looking back, I did not know that the Lightning Lane was going to go so fast for Mission Breakout. So again, with that in hindsight, I would have rope dropped the Mission Breakout ride first, because then we could have always again done single rider or the single multi-pass Lightning Lane, or the single pass Lightning Lane for Radiator Springs Racers, because that stayed available for most of the day as well too.
Okay.
But I did, again, just you live and learn, right? I just didn't know that.
You didn't know.
How we were
not a
supposed
regular.
to know.
Right.
So again, in the future, that is what I would do, and that's what I would also recommend to you if you're trying to get on all of those big rides. But anyway, though, so let's go back. Radiator Springs Racers, me and Ted went on it together. So fun. That is one of the most fun rides.
That
honestly.
I thought that was much cooler than I thought it was going to be when we went on it.
It is so fun, honestly. I think that's such a great ride. And again, it's like, as we recently did an episode on Test Track. We recently did an episode on Test Track. So, and I say in that episode, but I do not like the third iteration of Test Track, how they've renovated it recently. It's just not my favorite of how they've done it. And so going on the same ride mechanism for Radiator Springs Racers, I'm like, this is fantastic. This is great. I love seeing the Cars characters and like life size, because they're so huge, right? Cars are a big thing, right? Like you ride in the cars. I love seeing all the Cars characters. It's so fun going through, again, Radiator Springs. The race at the end, I think, is so fun, honestly. We won the first thing too. So when you win, it's like so fun.
I don't remember exactly what went on in the ride, but I remember when we got off, we were so like, cute. Wow, this is a really cool ride.
So
I wish
cute,
we had
so fun. It's worth it. Like I would say, that ride is worth it. Like no matter the wait, I do think it is worth it, because it is very fun, I would say, overall. But good. So then we met our friends. Again, we couldn't do Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. Whoopsies there. So instead, we walked over to Mike and Sully to the Rescue, which is the Monsters Inc. ride that they have. There's like their dark ride from Monsters Inc. Now, we did not go on this 9 years ago. I think it was closed for refurbishment or something like that.
I remember. Yeah.
So we didn't go on it. So, and they're right now in the process of closing this ride. Actually, it's been up for closure for a while now, because they are going to put some kind of either Avatar or Pandora thing in there, or a Zootopia ride or something like that. So they've been talking about closing this ride for a long time. So because of that, the ride used to be kind of unpopular. Now, obviously, it is popular since the rumors of it closing.
Right.
So we scurried over there. We went on that. So cool, honestly. It is sad that they're going to close that ride. It essentially just takes you through the story of Monsters Inc., like the first movie, very broadly. So, but it's so cool. I think the animatronics are really fun. They're not super, I would say, like they don't really like talk that much. They're more just like statues to a certain extent, kind of moving around. Like they're nothing too crazy. But I do think it is a really fun ride, especially if you're a big Monsters Inc. fan. Like if you love Mike Wazowski and Sully, like they're all throughout
really
that ride.
good.
It is definitely fun, I would say, overall. Again, the sushi scene is so funny too with the little octopus. Like, I don't know. I thought that was really fun. So after that ride, I ended up buying my Disneyland ears. So I did not bring mini ears with me because I knew I was going to buy them there. So I purchased them. They say Disneyland Resort on the side, which is my Disneyland Paris ears also say it on the side too. And then it's funny, there's this big bow on it, but then they have the little images of like the Disneyland rides and stuff on it, but the bow covers most of it, which I thought was kind of funny. So, all right. Then also just a note too, there is Carthy, how do you say this? Carthy Circle, which is like a famous thing in Los Angeles.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So we took photos of that as well too, because that's a big thing.
There was a restaurant too that we went to when we were there that had that name on it.
Yeah, Carthy Circle. So, all right. So then from here, we ended up walking through, I forget what the area is called because I'm not as familiar with this area, but we walked past where Soarin' is. So we chose not to do Soarin' on this trip just because I have Soarin' in Epcot. And honestly, Soarin' in Epcot, it's popular, but it's not as popular anymore as it once was. Like, I feel like when Soarin' first opened back in the day, we used to wait like an hour to hour and a half for Soarin'.
It hasn't been that bad.
Yeah, now it's like maybe 30 to 40 minutes you wait for Soarin' because there's so many other rides now in Epcot that just take precedence. But in this park, Soarin' is still a massive deal, right? Everyone still loves Soarin'. And they did have Soarin' over California going on. So I was tempted to do Soarin' because I haven't seen Soarin' over California in a while. And we're going to get Soarin' across America very soon anyway.
We're going to get that.
Yeah, and the one in California, they switch back and forth between over California and around the world more frequently than the one in Florida does. But the line for that one stayed like over an hour the entire day. And the lightning lanes also went really quick for that ride. So we ended up not doing it. But I wasn't too heartbroken by that. So then we walked through. Ted had to buy sunglasses because he forgot his sunglasses. So, all right. And now we're getting to Pixar Pier. So when we get to Pixar Pier, this was so exciting because 9 years ago, it was not Pixar Pier yet. It was still just the California themed pier. So this was really fun to see all the Pixar theming overlaid on top of this entire pier. I thought it was so cute how they did everything. So many little details, especially details to Pixar movies that I feel like no one talks about anymore, like A Bug's Life. Whatever happened to A Bug's Life, right? It's like even some of the newer ones that aren't as popular, like Luca. I love Luca, but Luca's not as popular, let's be real. Soul, again, just not as popular, even though it's a great movie. So again, they had a lot of touches for like a lot of the older Pixar movies, which was really fun to see. Like it wasn't just Toy Story, all to say, right? Toy Story is obviously there, but it wasn't just that. They had all the Pixar movies are represented, which I really loved. And they still had some of the rides from way back when, like the silly symphony swings. We did that later, but it's still called that, right? It's like they didn't really change that over to anything like Pixar themed. It's still just the regular theming. So some of those like little smaller, like I would say boardwalk type rides still had the regular theming. And then a lot of the other bigger rides were all been rethemed to some kind of Pixar, thing. So, all right. So here we were waiting for our next lightning lane. So we want to do the Ferris wheel. So when we did the Ferris wheel, we just did the regular Ferris wheel, but we decided to do these swinging cart Ferris wheel.
Oh, you did the swinging
here.
cars. Okay.
So the swinging cars, it is pretty wild, I will say. It is a wild thing.
I'm not a fan of the swinging cars.
Yeah, the swinging cars are pretty wild, I would say, overall. Now, it's not too crazy or nauseating, I found. I felt fine on it, honestly. What I found more annoying with the Ferris wheel was that you can't really see out of the Ferris wheel view because it's all like a grate, right? Because it's all, you're like in the cage.
It was hard taking pictures
and the
out
cage,
of it.
the little squares in the cage are so tiny so that it's really hard to get photos is the thing. So I feel like I didn't get any good photos. It was fun to experience.
I remember that, not being able to get really good photos from up there.
Yeah, but we did do that. And when we were waiting online for this, I did get a churro. So our churro. That's what my cat eats, the churros, the Go-Gurts. I got myself a churro. And the churro, I got it. It's funny because I got it from Senor Buzz Churros, which I thought was really funny. And the little bag was really cute. Because everyone says you got to get a churro, right? Churros are a big thing in Disneyland. And so I figured I'm going to have one. I will say overall, I'm not actually a big churro fan. It's just never been one of my favorite snacks. But I will say their churro was very good. That was one of the best ones I've had, honestly. And I could see why they're a big deal there because it was very good, very warm, kind of like soft, honestly. I feel like every other churro I've ever had is like stale in comparison. Not that I've had that one. I'm like, I feel like that was what it was supposed to taste like. And the other ones I've had in the past were just stale. So I was like, I don't know. But anyway, though, so the swinging Ferris wheel was very fun. I did think that was pretty cool. Again, that didn't have a lightning lane. So a lot of rides in Disneyland and Disney California Adventure Park is pretty split of what's on lightning lane and what's not on lightning lane. So that was not lightning lane. But then we did have a lightning lane for web slingers. So the Spider-Man web slingers. I was so pumped for this ride because when I did it in Disneyland Paris, it was all in French. It was very little English, honestly. So I was excited to do it with people that I knew because it's a whole team effort. Like you have individual scores, but unlike Toy Story Mania, you're not fighting against your teammates. You're scored together. You want the highest team score is what it is. And so I remember when I did in Disneyland Paris, I was a single rider for it. And I was with these two French girls and then another French girl who's also a single rider. I forget, let's say if the highest possible score is like 100,000 and then, let's say we got 100,000 or something like that. And then my score was like 90,000 and theirs was like 2,000 each. And I was just like, I remember being like, what were they doing over there? They were doing nothing.
They were just like for fun.
Yeah, I was like this crazy American girl over here swinging her arms like there's no tomorrow.
Who can't understand anything.
Yeah, it's like I knew the premise of like what to do, but I didn't know the plot of the ride, right? I didn't actually know what was going on. But looking back, I thought that was so funny. But This ride though, so all right, the plot of the ride is that Spider-Man, there's some new technology from, the made up fictional world of Marvel, new technology of these little spider robots that he's creating. And the spider robots are supposed to help him make other technologies, kind of like AI robots almost. But then they start duplicating themselves and it's getting out of control. So you're going into the ride with your little web slingers to basically control the little robots that are like taking over, right? They have thousands of the little robots. I will say, if you don't really like small bugs or something like that,
yeah, I wouldn't like
it
that.
is a
I'm
little
thinking
creepy.
That myself as you're saying
now,
that.
the robots don't actually look like spiders. They look very cute. It's Disney, right? They know how to make something look cute, right? So it's not nothing too crazy. Yeah. But I will say, as someone who does have a fear of small bugs in large quantities, it does like kind of ring true. You're like, oh, there's a lot of little things coming at you. But again, they don't look that creepy, I would say, overall, because they're bright red and blue, right? It's like bright,
they're not black like
yeah,
spiders.
they're like bright red and blue. They have like, they don't even have eyes, It's like they're very much Spider-Man colors. Like game is for kids at the end of the day. Anyway, and then there's different things you can do with your arms to, it's like different ways you can control the web, so to speak. I've seen some people do tutorials online on like how you can get the most points possible. But in the end though, I think we still did pretty good. My score was 153,000, and then Ted I think got 210,000. Jeremy got 206,000, and then Laura got 88,000.
Oh, that was poor Laura. She'd be like me.
So our total score was 747,000. And it was fun because then at the end of the ride, when you go out, they have a scoreboard that says like the highest for the hour, the highest for the day, all that stuff. So later on when I was vlogging and I was saying, it's like, oh, we didn't make the highest for the hour. Laura was like, yeah, that was my fault. She was like, I was not good at that ride. She was like, I was the one who let the team down there. And I was like, no, you're still doing good. It was definitely like, you really got to be swinging your arms, right? So it's like kind of crazy. And you don't want to hit the person next to you too. Right. So anyway, but again, that ride is so fun. I do wish the copyright laws were different, that we could have that ride in Disney World, because it is so fun, and it is sad that we can't have that, because it would be great if we could have a version of that in Disney World. Yes. Anyway though, so afterwards, as soon as we got out from that, it's funny because whenever you end up leaving somewhere and you see a big crowd and everyone has their phones up, something's going to happen, right? I'll never forget in Universal when we were in Diagon Alley that we came out of a store, everyone had their phones up, and we looked up and realized the dragon was about to breathe fire. So I took my phone out and I got that clip. Same thing here. We walked out, everyone had their phones up, and I looked up and I realized that the Spider-Man show was about to happen. So basically there is a Spider-Man, it's not a real person, but it's like a Spider-Man dummy essentially that flies through the air, and he kind of like lands essentially. And it looks really cool. Like when you see it in person, it looks amazing, right? Like a huge acrobatic trick essentially. And again, it is not a real person. There was an incident a year ago or so, where the dummy didn't launch correctly, and so he like hit the wall and then like fell. And people were really concerned that the actor got very hurt, and Disney had to come up with a statement. And up until that point, no one knew if it was an actor or not.
They all thought it was a real actor.
So Disney had to come up with a statement to say like, it's not actually a real person. Like no one was hurt.
There was something doing the stunts.
Yeah, it's like no one was hurt. Everything was fine. It was just a mistake in the launch, and they fixed it obviously. But that's how we know. It's like, all right, which is good to know, because you don't want anyone to get hurt obviously. And this is a very high tech stunt that's happening of this thing flying in the air. But it was really cool to see that, because I didn't think we were going to see that. So we just happened to walk about it.
It's always a fun thing.
And then after that happens, an actual Spider-Man actor comes down, and then he greets the crowd. He does lots of photos, and then he goes to his actual meet and greet where you can wait online to do meet and greets. So, all right, so then after this, we end up getting a quick lightning lane for the Little Mermaid ride. So we head over to the Little Mermaid ride. I'll say the Little Mermaid ride, it looks so cool, because in ours, it's all the rocks, I would say. So it's like all the rocks when you're entering in through the rocks. Here, it looks like a museum almost. It's like this big, elegant white building, and you're entering into this like beautiful, like kind of like elegant palace almost essentially. So it's like where the Disney World one in Magic Kingdom is more of like the rock aesthetic. Right. This one's like the palace aesthetic, I would say. So it's cool when you get in there. The ride is exactly the same as Magic Kingdom. Okay. Not a single thing was different. The only thing that I would say is different is the shells. So the shells that you sit in are all different colors. The ones in Magic Kingdom were all pink. These ones were like green, pink, orange, different colors essentially. But the ride was exactly the same. Not a single thing was different, honestly. So very fun to see that. Now, when we were waiting online, again, so I was doing the lightning lane throughout the day. So the way their multi-pass lightning lane works is that you can purchase your multi-pass lightning lane when you purchase your tickets. But if you forget to do that, you can also purchase it once you're in the parks as well. Of course, you need to link all your tickets with your family and friends to make sure it's all in one account so you can do the lightning lane. So once you have it, you cannot pre-book any lightning lane tickets for the multi-pass. You have to, again, as soon as you're in the park, as soon as you scan your ticket into the park, you can start booking your first lightning lane. So now that goes back again to what I was saying about the Disneyland resort people. So if they purchased the lightning lane, they would have, once they scanned into the park, they could do their lightning lane for their first lightning lane of the day through the multi-pass. They would have that additional lightning lane because of the park. So when they started for the day, they could start with 2 lightning lanes rather than everyone else who's only starting with 1 lightning lane.
Right, so if they wanted to do the 2 big ones like Radiator and
so they could have gotten
the
2.
Do that.
Well, no, Radiator Springs is a single pass, so that's the extra charge. So that one's different.
Still an extra charge.
So if they want to do like Guardians of the Galaxy and like Soarin', they could have done both of them at the same time. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So I do see the advantage of that in staying at the Disneyland resort is that you can get two big lightning lanes at the same time. But I still don't think for me that was enough of a draw to spend the extra thousands of dollars to stay on the resort just to get one extra lightning lane in that sense. So that's why we didn't do it. And overall, I think it was fine. Like I'm not too upset that that we didn't do it. So it was good. So anyway, though, so when we were staying here, because you can only book one at a time, it is like the old days when we had the Genie Plus stuff, and now it's all the multi-pass and single pass. So because you can only book the one singular multi-pass at a time, everyone else can also only book one single multi-pass at a time.
Oh, okay.
So in theory, it's one of those things where, again, it's, or the only one, and then after 2 hours, you can book your second, right? So that's kind of how it works. And that's how the old multi-pass lightning lanes used to work in Disney World before they did the pre-bookings. So because of that, if you were just on the app and you just, I got Little Mermaid. After Little Mermaid, I was like, all right, I really want to get Incredicoaster. But at this point, it was about noon, I would say. So around noon. And the Incredicoaster lightning lanes wasn't until like 4 p.m. And I'm like, I really don't want to have 4 hours until our next lightning lane. I wish I could get it at least within the next hour or something. So I booked the Incredicoaster. Then once you book it, it will bring it to like the top of your app. This is kind of hard to explain just verbally, but there are a lot of YouTube videos and reels out there online that really go into detail about lightning lanes. So I'm just going to say this very briefly. Maybe in the future, we'll do an episode on comparing the lightning lanes between Disney World and Disneyland. But basically, if you just keep refreshing the page, the lightning lane page, it will give you new times. So that's something Disney World you don't really get at all. But here, it's like, again, so for 4 p.m., you refresh, maybe it still stays at 4 p.m. You just keep refreshing that page. And then out of nowhere, suddenly it just jumped and I got one for 12 p.m. And I was like, okay, immediately booked it really quick. And then we got it. Now, sometimes if you do that, you see a good time, it'll go away because it means someone else booked it and they were faster than you. But we got a lightning lane for the Incredicoaster immediately after Little Mermaid. We were right there, right? Because it's like right across the way from Pixar Pier. So again, sometimes when you're doing your lightning lanes, you just want to keep refreshing that page. And again, just stand there. Sometimes you can be doing it for like 5 straight minutes, just like pulling down the thing to refresh it. But it can be worth it because you end up getting a lightning lane a lot sooner than like waiting hours or something like that. So for us, it was worth it. We did that. We immediately then headed over to Incredicoaster. I will say, doing the same with the lightning lane though, it does drain your phone battery pretty significantly. So like my phone battery was, by the end of the day, I had to recharge my phone at least once because it drains your battery so quickly because you're connected to the internet the whole time, of course. But anyway, though, so we went over to Incredicoaster. So fun, honestly. I remember going on that way back when too, and it was really fun. Now, it's funny because we got onto the ride and we sat down and I put my little ears in the thing or whatever, and then you pull down the harness. As soon as I pulled down the harness on myself, I looked at Laura and I was like, does this ride go upside down? Because I didn't realize it went upside down for some reason. And I didn't remember that from way back then because it's like a wooden roller coaster. So I was like, I didn't remember that from way back when this ride goes upside down. But it does. There's only one loop in the ride. Only one, not even a corkscrew, just one loop in the ride. But it does go upside down. But it was very fun. It's a very long roller coaster too because it's one of those classic wooden coasters. Yeah. Very long coaster. So fun. They put it's called the Incredicoaster now. So again, they had a little bit Incredibles themes all throughout it, which is super fun and super cute to see. We sadly did not get our photo. So this is a good point too to say is that in Disney World, because everything is like through the cloud, right? I don't know what the cloud is, right? No one can explain the cloud to me. Everything's through the cloud. So when you have your little bands on your wrist or on your phone or something like that, as you walk by certain things, Disney's always scanning your for crowd control, exactly understanding. What you're doing. But one of the benefits of that for guests is that you always get your photos. So when you go on a ride, it automatically links your ride photos to your pass. So in Disneyland, it is not automatically linked. You have to get it the old-fashioned way where you literally go to where they have all the screens. You take a photo of the number on your photo and then you have to go purchase it afterwards in like a different part of the park. So we never got our Incredicoaster photo, sadly. We waited a long time. We never saw a photo. Now there is a photo pass like helper basically that's outside the park that could help you find your photos, but I ended up just forgetting about it and we ended up not doing that. But it was sad because we didn't get us through a photo and Laura kind of wanted the photo. All right, so now at this point we are at 12:30 and I've been telling everyone we would be stopping for lunch. We hadn't stopped for lunch yet, so sorry to my family and friends, forcing them only to go on rides. They do not take to eat, no break for them. So we were looking, at this point we had been looking through the menus for a while to be like, what do we want to have for lunch? Because I already had a Wine Country Trattoria reservation for later that night. So I'm like, all right, what do we want to have for lunch? We're going to have Italian for tonight. We looked through all the menus. I will say the vegetarian options in this park aren't that great. They're a little bit lacking, I would say, overall.
California, you would think they would be better.
Yeah, I would say they had a lot of stands, but the stands don't always have easy menus you can find online. Like there was like an acai bowl stand and like different stands, and I would say, but for plant-based options, there wasn't really that many options, I feel like, or I should say options that I really wanted to eat. So anyway, though, so we end up going to San Francisco, which was super exciting because I love Big Hero 6. I feel like Big Hero 6 is really underrated, if I'm being honest. So me and Ted went to the Cochino Cucamonga Mexican Grill in San Francisco, and I had the only plant-based option that they have there, which is the tacos doradas de papa, which is basically potato tacos, right? Very good though. They came with like a lot of cream with cabbage slaw. They came with some, it's like like, I forget what Ted got, honestly. I'm looking at this. Do not know what Ted got. I know he also got tacos as well too, but I could not tell you what kind of tacos he got. But anyway, though, so I got those tacos. The tacos were good. Didn't get a photo of it because we were so hungry at that point. We just ate it. Now I will say, because we chose to come to lunch at peak time, it did take us a long time to find a table. Now this area is massive. There are a lot of quick service restaurants here, right? You have like the Mexican one, there was a Chinese one, there was like an American one, a cafe type one. There's also Ghirardelli's in here too, which is really good. I'm kind of sad. I'm kind of sad that I never got to go back to Ghirardelli's just because there aren't that many Ghirardelli's in a general sense in America. Most of them are in California, and there's like 3 that's not in the state of California. But we never did get back to Ghirardelli's. But the whole area, there is so much seating, so many tables, all under covers, all with umbrellas and stuff. But even with as much seating as they had, we struggled to find a table. We were walking around for a while to find a table. And again, I realized we went during peak lunchtime, but it was a Wednesday, right? And we couldn't find a table. We walked around for a long time, and it was the typical, like, you're really scoping out for a table, right? As soon as someone looks like they're about to stand up, you're kind of, hustling over them, be like, are you guys leaving? Can we take your table? And so we ended up finding a table initially, but then Ted ended up finding a better table. So then we went over to Ted's table, and he said, even when he got over there, people were being like, oh, is your table taken? He's like, no, I'm sitting right here, right? He's like, but he was sitting at a table for 4 and the other 3 seats were empty. So people were like, oh, it's like, because sometimes you can share a table, right? If you're 2 people to share with other 2 people.
For you guys.
So we came over there, so we got a table, which was great. And so then we all got our food. We sat for a long time, because at this point we've been standing and walking around all day in lines and everything. But I'll say, as soon as we finished eating, again, we kind of turned to get up 3 people came to our table. One girl, she just walked away because she realized she was going to lose. And those other 2 people, they had to fight it out with each other. And I was like, good luck, guys. And at that point, it was only like, maybe 1:30 or something like that. So it's just like, again, we're still peak lunchtime. But again, it's like, for how many tables there are, it was still pretty packed, I would say, overall. And this isn't the only spot with quick service restaurants. There's other quick service options. You could have gone in the park, and we had picked that one.
They had a big selection, though.
Yeah, so we had our food, and then we walked back through Radiator Springs, just kind of for fun, I would say, just to take in the sights. We took some photos through there. We did see Lightning McQueen, which is pretty cool. It's funny because when you see the Cars characters for their photo ops, they do drive. You kind of look at it being like, is someone in there? Like, I don't know. Is it like remote? Automated? Is it like remote controlled? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I bet you there's somebody in there. We decided we think someone was in there, but we don't know. I'm not really sure. So if anyone wants to give us the lowdown of how the Cars characters can drive around, we'd be very curious, honestly. But anyway, so yeah, we didn't get anything in like the Cozy Cone area, but they were so cute, honestly, and Ted loved that area. So then after this, we ended up going shopping. So we went back to like the main area street, and I knew I wanted all the souvenirs. So we ended up going shopping. I was surprised to see that we were in Disney California Adventure Park, and there was no DCA merch, really. The only merch I could find was the 25th anniversary for DCA, but it was nothing was ugly, but I didn't love any of it. And there was really nothing else that said DCA on it, right? Everything said Disneyland. So I was a little disappointed in that, because I would have loved something that said specifically Disney California Adventure Park. All the merchandise they've upped in Walt Disney World. I don't know. So again, they did have so many cute crew necks and sweatshirts and Spirit jerseys. That was like every crew neck and Spirit jersey I saw looked so cute. I kind of wanted all. I ended up getting 2 crew necks. That's how much I liked them. And I really wanted a t-shirt, and I never found a t-shirt that I liked, which is really sad. They need to put some of their crew neck designs on the t-shirts, because the crew neck designs were all so cute, but the t-shirt designs were all kind of ugly in my opinion. So I didn't get any t-shirts, which is sad. I did get a magnet. I got a Baymax magnet, which is kind of funny because it doesn't say Disneyland on it. I meant to get a Disneyland magnet, and I just didn't get one. I don't know what happened there, but I got one of the Baymax ones, and then I also got a Disneyland 70th celebration pin. So again, I also want to get a DCA pin. I do have a DCA pin from 9 years ago when we went, but I would have liked another DCA pin, but again, they didn't really have anything. So I ended up not really getting much else, honestly. And so from there, we went through all the stores pretty slowly, honestly. We spent a long time shopping because we had more time before our next Lightning Lane, which was going to be Toy Story Mania. So again, we were just shopping, going through all the stores. I did end up getting a Rice Krispie treat. As soon as I saw that bakery, I was just like, I gotta get my Rice Krispie treat. Now, because we were going during the Easter season, they did have a lot of Easter items as well too. And they did have a 70th celebration Rice Krispie treat, but it was all white chocolate, and white chocolate's not my favorite, so I did not get the white chocolate one. I just got the regular Mickey one, honestly. Pretty boring, but it is my favorite. All right, so after that, I do not remember what this area is called, but it's basically this area that's by the river run and where Soarin' is. Okay. But it's like an area with like these ropes, and you kind of go through the ropes and stuff like that. Sort of like a little mini hike, I would say. There's kind of like a kids play areas in this area too. So we went over there, and we were able to do the Mabel's Seek and Find. That's literally what it's called. Okay. And that was based on the Hoppers movie, the new Pixar Hoppers movie. So we went over there, and we decided to do that because we thought that would be fun. So we got our little map. So you basically, they give you, it's free, you don't pay for this, but they give you a map, and then they have 4 characters you can pick from, but they only had Tom Lizard, which I thought was funny. So they told us we can only do Tom Lizard today, because basically all 4 of the characters, I can't remember the other characters, but there's a secret message, right, that you're going to decode. So you're going to go through this little scavenger hunt, and you're going to decode the secret message. So that's what we did. We went through the whole thing. It was pretty fun, I would say. There are these ropes you have to walk across, which was much more difficult than I was expecting it to be. And so we couldn't find the decoder. It took us forever to find this decoder. We had to go through the whole thing to figure out where the decoder was. We finally found the decoder, and then they did the secret message, and Tom Lizard's secret message is lizard. We were like, wow, this whole journey just to find out the secret message was lizard. Listen. I'd be so curious to know what the other secret messages were. So I'm sad we couldn't do those. But yeah, secret message was lizard. But they do have this really cool little like statue of Mabel that's there. So we got a photo with Mabel, and there was like a photo op. You could take photos with Mabel too. So that was really fun. It was kind of funny because Laura was harping on Jeremy because I have seen Hoppers and Jeremy had seen Hoppers, and she was like, I was supposed to see Hoppers with Jeremy, but then he abandoned me and he ditched me for someone else. He saw it with his dad and his little sister, right? So, but it was so funny the way she worded being like, yeah, he ditched me to go see Hoppers with someone else. And it's like, yeah, his family and his younger sister who's like 13, 14 years old, right? So it's just like, so Laura had not seen Hoppers yet, but she does want to go see it. So she's going to see it. We saw Hoppers. We have a whole podcast on Hoppers. Yes. Loved Hoppers. I thought it was a great movie. So love that we got to go to Pixar Pier during the Hoppers season, since everything, they had a lot of Hoppers little, touches around. All right. So after this, we did just standby line for the Silly Symphony swings. We all really wanted to do that for some reason. I'll say they go a lot faster than I thought they were going to go. When you're looking at it, it looks like it's going so slow. But then when you're on it and they lift you like 15 feet up in the air, you're really swinging around. So, all right. So from there, we went through a few more stores on Pixar Pier, because this is where all like the Pixar stores are. So they have lots of like the exclusive Pixar stuff, like a lot of Inside Out. Inside Out, I feel like everyone loves Inside Out. Of course, Inside Out 2 is literally the highest grossing animated film now in the entire world. So much Inside Out stuff. But then we made our way over to Toy Story Mania. Now we do have Toy Story Mania in Hollywood Studios. The biggest difference here is that the queue and when you get onto the ride is all outdoors. So it's covered, but it's all outdoors. To the point where when we walked past this earlier in the day, I didn't know it was Toy Story Mania because they have Mr. Potato Head outside. And I took a photo and a video of Mr. Potato Head. After I got the lightning in for Toy Story Mania, I asked him, I was like, oh, where is Toy Story Mania? And Jeremy's like, well, we walked past it before. He was like, you took a photo of the queue. I was just like, I didn't know that was the queue. I just thought that was Mr. Potato Head hanging out. But yeah, he was part, which is the same in Toy Story in Hollywood Studios as well, that he's part of the queue, right? So yeah, so the whole queue is outside, and when you get on, it's all outside. A lot in California, of course, it's outside since their weather is pretty temperate the entire year. And so yeah, so we got on, again, same ride, as before too. I did not do that well. My hand was cramping hard, let me tell you. The whole time I was ahead of Ted, and then the last one, like my hand was just, I couldn't do it. I was just like, I'm struggling. So Ted ended up beating me, and he was so shocked. He was just like, I can't believe I beat you. He was like, you were doing so well the whole time. I'm like, yeah, that last round, my hand couldn't move. I was going a little too hard on the other ones. Yeah, I was going a little too hard on the other ones. I couldn't keep up. All right. So now at this point, it is around 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, and our reservations for dinner was at 6:15, 6:10, 6:15 or something. So as we're walking, and we're like right across from where Wine Country Trattoria is. So we end up doing the carousel. The carousel is Pixar themed. So all the animals, I would say with love, look weird.
On the carousel?
They're not horses, right? They're not horses. They're like little cartoon animals in fun, bright colors, right? And then they're playing this music because it's sort of Toy Story-ish themed, I would say. So we got the Woody themed one. So it's playing this like Woody song, but there's also like a Jesse yodeling song as well that they would play. Different songs. And we went on the carousel. It was fun, but I do think I do prefer the classic horse carousel. Just personally. So, and they do have a horse carousel in Disneyland, but of course we were in DC at the time. All right, so then we made our way over to Wine Country Trattoria. We ate here 9 years ago as well too, because when I was looking at all the menus for these sit-down restaurants in DCA, there aren't actually that many sit-down restaurants in DCA. So this is, for out of all the ones that are there, this one was the one that I found the best vegetarian options. So we decided to go there. It is very much an outdoor restaurant.
It's a big restaurant, if I remember.
It's pretty big. It's all open too. So I remember when we went, it was very hot, and they didn't have any there's no walls, right? So even if you're sitting inside, it's still hot because it's all open. So this day, it was a beautiful day, honestly. So it was very nice. We sat outside. They did have a private event going on somewhere because we saw like all these signs for like private event. We don't know what was going on, but there were people in suits up there. So we think maybe it was like a Disney or corporate event or something. Right. But anyway, so I had the spaghetti aliole, very good. It was so good, honestly, but it was covered in arugula, and it didn't say on the menu it was going to come with arugula.
I've never seen that kind of pasta with arugula on it.
Yeah, so I do not like arugula. A lot of people know from the infamous Disney cruise, I do not like arugula because that also happened on the cruise as well too, that I had arugula. So I had to pick all the arugula out, but otherwise it was very good though. So at this point, the sun has set. I put on one of my sweatshirts because it was once the sun is set, I guess it gets a little chillier, but again, it was still beautiful weather. We went back to Radiator Springs. I would definitely recommend walking through Radiator Springs at night because it looks so different than it looks during the day with all the lights and everything. We did single rider for Radiator Springs here. Again, so fun. Me and Ted ended up being in the same car. He was just sitting behind me, and then they were in different cars. I don't know what cars they were in. We didn't win our second race, but it was fun. It was still very fun though. So afterwards here, now earlier in the day, I was supposed to join the virtual queue for the World of Color show to get a good spot to stand for World of Color. Didn't know that. So by the time we joined the virtual queue, there were 2 showings that night for World of Color. There was the earlier show, which was at 9 p.m. and then there was a later show at 10:15 p.m. So we got the virtual queue for the 10:15 p.m. one. There was no way we were staying till 10:15, right? I was like, I briefly thought about it, but I was like, we still have a full Disney day tomorrow in Disneyland. Yeah. So I was like, we're seeing the 9 p.m. one, right? So we just end up finding a little spot somewhere random. We had great spots still, honestly. Yeah. You can see where you could have had better spots up front, obviously, like a little bit more immersive than we were standing because we were further back. But again, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. So we watched World of Color. Now, I remember when we saw World of Color way back when, we saw it from a different viewing spot that wasn't even in the park. So I remember I didn't love World of Color the first time we saw it.
I don't think it was as big as it is now.
Well, it's funny because I've heard people say World of Color is the best Disney nighttime show ever, right? I've heard so many influencers, some people say that they love World of Color. So when we watched World of Color, the first thing I would say about World of Color, well, first there's a pre-show to World of Color. That's the Muppets themed, which is kind of cute. Didn't know that. And then the new World of Color, since they've redone it a few times, of course. The new one is hosted by the Inside Out characters. So the Inside Out characters, they host the whole show technically. Now, the most shocking thing to me is that in Disney World, most shows are about 15 to 20 minutes. This show was like 30 to 35 minutes. It was pretty long. I did not know how long it was going to be. So it was pretty shocking. And there's multiple points in the show where I thought this is the end. Like it felt very grand finale-esque, and then it just kept going. And then even the ending, the last song that they play is actually like the credits song technically, but it's still all water fountains and color. So it still looks like it's part of the show. But then Jeremy told me, he was like, technically that's the exiting music and the exiting show.
Start leaving.
But no one left because everyone was just watching it. So I was just like, okay. So we watched it too, right? So it was still very good. And that music in that show was like the reminiscent of like the old World of Color too, I know, from like way back when the show first premiered. No, I did like World of Color. I thought it was good. I definitely maybe would watch it again overall. I would not do a dessert party for it. I did briefly consider doing the dessert party for World of Color to again get better spots and have fun with the dessert party. Glad I didn't do it because I don't think the show was really worth it that much for me. I think where we stood next to the trash cans was perfect for my viewing of it. So I think even in the future too, I feel like it kind of equated to Harmonious and Epcot, where sometimes we don't always stay for Harmonious and Epcot. We'll leave.
Depends on how tired, what the weather is.
Yeah, like if I've seen it once or twice, I don't have to see it every time. That's kind of how I felt about World of Color too. I probably don't have to see it, every time or something like that. I'm glad I got to see it once, and it is a really cool show. I also want to note too, they did say if certain places when you're standing up close, you will get wet, just to note, just the way the wind blows. We were standing so far back, obviously we did not get wet. But just to know, they did make announcements being like there are wet zones of World of Color, so just to point that out too. But again, World of Color, it was fun to see. So then we turned around, and as we were leaving, again, the park was still open, right? There was a 10:15 showing. Thank goodness we didn't stay for the 10:15 showing for this 30-minute show. I did not know it was going to be that long.
After that long walk back to the hotel.
So we turned around, we started to leave, and as we're leaving DCA, there's all these fireworks going off, and we're like, what are these fireworks? And I was just like, what's close enough for fireworks? The fireworks were the Disneyland fireworks at 9:30.
Oh, okay.
So they had their fireworks at 9:30. I didn't know that, so we saw a lot of their fireworks, and in my head, I'm like, we'll see the fireworks tomorrow when we're at Disneyland. We did not see the fireworks tomorrow at Disneyland. We missed the fireworks because we were still in dinner at the time. So I'm glad we got to see a little bit of the fireworks, but then after that, we just started heading out of the park for the most part, and we were all so tired, I would say, overall. All right, so that is where I'm going to end today's podcast, because again, in the next episode in part 2, we're going to go over Disneyland parks. Again, we've already been talking for a while here, and when I edit this down a little bit.
Need a break.
All right, so no Disney news for today, because we will continue this episode in part 2, but we will end on our Disney quote. So our Disney quote for today is, "You've made a lot of mistakes, a lot, and you'll make a whole lot more in the future. But if you let that stop you, we might as well lie down and give up now." And that is said by Anger in Inside Out too.
Okay.
Now I picked this quote because in World of Color, during the day, there is this thing where you could vote on the emotion that's going to be featured in the World of Color show. And we missed the voting because we did it too late. But anyway, when we were watching the show, we could not figure out who was the emotion that got featured that was voted on by the people in the park, right? So we watched the whole show, and at the end, we think it was anger. So that's why I wanted to pick an anger quote for today. But I don't know though, because at some point I'm like, it could have been anger, or it could have been, I think, envy, I think is her name. So it was either anger or envy, but honestly, it definitely wasn't ennui. I don't think it was ennui because we didn't really see much of him, and it wasn't embarrassment. I would have voted for embarrassment because he's my favorite, but I think it was anger. But I will say, I don't know when in the show they were supposed to do the spotlight because it wasn't very obvious, but again, we think it was anger though, because there was a few parts where we saw anger more than some of the other characters. But again, who knows at the end of the day? I am not fully sure. So, but all right. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode of or did you want to do a Disney memory real quick?
I don't have any memories. No memories. Your memory.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of the podcast. Again, we're going to continue in part 2. So make sure you stick around for part 2. I will also have my Disney vlog up. Also, I have that linked in the description too. So you can watch the whole visual Disney vlog. Obviously, I don't go into detail on the day the way we're going in the podcast though. So make sure you leave a comment if you're watching YouTube and follow us on social media on Disneyland X. Of course, I posted lots of photos and videos as well on my social media, so you can also check that out too.